Welcome to the Reflection Room. We're excited to be interviewing and talking with Wendy Websley. She's an award-winning registered dietitian and a licensed nutritionist in the St. Pete and Tampa Bay area. Her specialties include easy and budget-friendly home cooking, meal plans created from unprocessed foods, and menopause nutrition. And she actually founded the St. Pete Cooking School, where she teaches people basic cooking skills and how to cook on a budget. So, welcome. Natalie, would you like to get into the communal eating
Yeah.
questions?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love how I love how what we've talked about so far kind of like leads us into our next section. So we've talked and it's come up a few times in our conversation so far. So you've just mentioned, Wendy, about how sometimes food is seen as like an inconvenience, and then Hannah with your example of your client and her daughter going and connecting with the farmer. And then earlier, Wendy, you mentioned how sometimes you love talking to your clients a little bit about the kind of like the older traditions and of just kind of coming together and enjoying food like around a table and whatnot. So I'd love to talk a little bit about kind of a two trends that we've kind of noticed over the I would probably say over the last few years, especially since COVID. It was definitely, I would say like a point in time where we saw some things shifting for us overall. And one of the things that we noticed began to kind of increase and rise was just kind of a sense of loneliness, right? We were forced to kind of isolate in many ways and depending on our area and depending on different factors, but some more than others. But we did start seeing there was an increase in loneliness and research shows that loneliness affects people gravely, affects people's physical health, mental health, relationally, there's some impact there. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this, so I had some family not too long ago that they came down from up north, and we were trying to think of places to show them, and Armature Works actually came to mind, locally, and it was like it's a nice communal space where people can kind of come and sit down and eat and I don't really think that they have a space like that where they're from. Um, and and so I thought it would be nice for them to kind of like, see what that's like. Honestly, I didn't know what their response would be like, if they would enjoy it or think it was kind of odd, or I don't know, that strangers are kind of sitting with them. But it just got me thinking about, I was wondering what your take would be like on a space like that, or even kind of the rise of those kinds of spaces in the midst of what we're seeing, which is this like need for interaction and connection. So we just have a few questions for you. And the first question is, why does eating alone feel so, I guess, what we would consider maybe not necessarily clinically depressing, but just kind of depressing sometimes? What would you say, like, what would you attribute that to?
Oh, well, I think that human beings are wired for connection, and we are
Hmm.
social animals. And a big piece of socialization is sharing meals together. And so I think I understand that sometimes I take because I take some meals alone. I would rather not, but some meals I take alone because I have an 18-year-old son, and sometimes he's not home, and sometimes I take
Hmm.
meals alone. I prefer to take meals with friends or with my son. So I think that we're just wired as human beings to connect and to be with other people. There is some research that suggests that nutrient absorption is greater when we eat with other people. Um,
Ah.
I think that's
Wow.
really fascinating stuff and fascinating research. And also, there's a wonderful video on YouTube that I saw years and years ago that just really solidified this whole communal eating with me. It's of a dog, a puppy in a like a crate you would see at a dog shelter, and the dog was not eating. And so the vet tried an experiment. He took his lunch with him inside the dog crate and just sat there and ate his food. He didn't interact with the dog. He didn't goad the dog. He didn't encourage the dog. He just sat in the crate with this dog day after day after day, eating his lunch. And eventually the dog started to eat. It's a wonderful
Wow.
video, and it's a wonderful example of the power of communal eating. And when I worked
Mm.
at the hospital, um,
Hmm.
family members would say, "What can I do? What can I do? How can I help my elderly, my grandma, my elderly family member?" I said, "The best thing you can do is send a family member here 3 times a day at meal times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I would prefer you not to sit and watch grandma eat because that puts too much pressure on
Mhm.
grandma or grandpa because grandma and grandpa want to please you by eating, and they may have diminished appetite for whatever reason is going on with their
Mhm.
health. So if you will just tell this family member to go to the cafeteria and grab a salad or a sandwich or a piece of fruit or a snack or anything and just bring it up to grandma, grandpa's room and just sit in the room during mealtime, eat your food, have conversation, and let grandma or grandpa eat their food, intake will increase when a family member or friend is present eating their own food.
Mm.
Wow,
And
that is so powerful.
the family members would say, "That's it? That's all you want me to do?" I said, "Go get a bag of chips, go get a salad, come up, sit, eat your food with grandma. That's it. That's it." Because part of healing in the hospital is food intake. That's what dietitians
Mhm.
and hospitals do is we find ways to make sure that intake is adequate for protein, for calories, for fat, for carbs. And a big part of especially elderly people's intake is sometimes elderly people struggle with intake. And one way we get them to eat more food is to have somebody present in the room eating with them. Sometimes
Oh.
nurses would grab their lunch and sit if they had a particular patient they liked a lot, they would take their lunch and sit in the patient's room during mealtime to increase intake.
Huh.
The other thing is
Oh.
this is an act of service that the family member, friend, or even the nurse can provide. And when you get
Mhm.
outside of yourself and you get into service of another human being, that feels amazing. And this is also
Right.
beneficial to our mental health is when we can get into service of other people.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And as you were just sharing that, I was thinking, gosh, it really is not to minimize this experience, but it really is the little things sometimes. We think like you mentioned, your clients are like, that's it. Sometimes we're looking for these big answers or these big solutions when it's the little things that we could be doing that make all of the difference. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I would have never thought of something like that. So very
Yeah.
interesting. Mhm.
Yeah. I had a professor in grad school, and he used to say, get in the boat with them. So their boat is sinking.
Mhm.
You just get in the boat with them and help them scoop out water. So
Mhm.
that means, like, you don't have to have the magic words to say, but, like, just be present with them. And
Mhm.
that reminds me a lot of what you're saying.
Mm.
Like, if somebody is struggling in grief or with their health, like, just eat with them. And I love that
Mhm.
so much because and I feel like that's in a lot of other cultures, that's what people would do.
Mhm.
But in
Mhm.
our fast-paced culture, we skip out on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's a really beautiful thing too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's really good. We briefly talked a little bit about this about earlier. Wendy had mentioned something about eating like secretly, like at night.
Mhm.
We just touched upon it briefly, but why do we stress eat more? It seems like when we're isolated.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on that?
When I worked at the hospital, then in my personal life, I've done a lot of bed sitting with both of my parents with their health. Both my parents have passed. and they each had hospitalizations. And so I've done a lot of bed sitting, and I can tell you that there is no lonelier place on the planet than a hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm,
There is no place I'd rather in this entire world never ever be again than a hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning, bed sitting with a loved one.
mm,
And the nurses told me that requests for pain medication were double, sometimes three times overnight
yeah.
in the hospital. And the hospital is quiet and it's lonely and there isn't much going on. And during the day, shades are up, the sunlight's coming in, hustle, bustle, people coming in, mopping, changing this, changing that, checking your blood pressure, attention. But at night, man, it grinds to a halt. And so I observed too with my patients is that a lot of emotional eating, this is eating done not for hunger, but to push down emotion. A lot of this emotional eating happens
Mm,
in secret in the wee hours of the morning. And I often joke that the foods that we consume between the hours of 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. are not chicken breast and carrot sticks.
mm-mm.
My patients are not in the kitchen cutting with a knife and fork chicken breast and chomping on carrot sticks and celery or no one's eating salad, right? Or beans
Mhm,
at
mhm,
midnight, right? It's
mhm,
often this ultra processed food, which again is engineered for mass consumption on repeat. And I
mhm,
think that in some people, these ultra processed foods mimic drugs and alcohol.
mm,
Um, and so I, I'm also a member of a 12-step community, and um, some of my friends in the rooms, they quit alcohol and they transferred their addiction to ultra processed foods. And so there was a transfer of substance, if you will,
mhm,
from drugs and alcohol to ultra processed foods. And a lot of that food was consumed in secret in the wee hours of the morning.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I could absolutely see that. We have, I don't know, Hannah, if you've ever worked with any. Yeah, I think so. Clients that have struggled with substance like dependency or addiction, but we have seen some of that too. What you just described, Wendy, is a change from one
Mhm.
struggle to another, one substance to another, and so it's interesting that you pointed that out. But uh, uh, I think that's why in isolation. Um, I think that's why, when we were talking, you mentioned the like support groups or, with what we do, I think that having loved ones or having support or having accountability partners is so important. It's because, in isolation, it's a whole lot easier for us to be able to do some things.
Oh, did we lose her?
I think so. There we
I
go.
may, yeah, okay. I don't know if I may have an unstable internet. I hope it's not me.
No, no, it's fine. I don't know exactly what it was. Um, It could have been any of us actually. It didn't signal, like, who it was or anything like that, but I forgot where it was. I'll probably just say I don't know, I forgot what I
Trans
was saying.
transference of transference of substance or I think that, yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, I don't know, I'll probably just say it's really interesting. Um, shoot, what was I saying? Oh, yes, 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 okay. Um, so, I know I know with my experience with working with clients, there have been times where we have talked a little bit about the importance of having like loved ones or being a part of support groups or having some kind of accountability partner, because oftentimes that's what happens in isolation. It's so easy to kind of slip back into either stress eating is what we're talking about here, but any other substance that they might be dependent on, um uh, because no one's really kind of aware of those like patterns or anything like that. And so just having someone that you could really kind of talk to and can kind of hold you accountable to your patterns or behaviors or habits, I think is just really important. So the final question we had in this section was this: can family dinner actually improve mental health, or is that just us being kind of nostalgic?
Um, yeah, yes, big fat yes. Absolutely. How do we connect with our children or spouses or friends? And a lot of parents are, running to sports and this and that, and it's not popular to say that maybe we don't need to have all of the see I maybe we don't need to have all of these activities. Maybe the activity needs to be the family unit sits down and eats
Mhm.
and connects. And that I know
Mhm.
that is some old school, boring, hippie, like un-American way to go about it. But um we're missing something. Something is wrong.
Uh-huh.
Or at worst, I've heard that they'll all make a plate, but they'll all go into their separate corners of the home with their
Mhm.
device and plug into the device and not plug into each other. To me,
Mhm.
I can hear my heart crack when I hear of a family doing that. Um,
Mhm.
I feel my heart crack when a family is eating constantly on the run in the minivan, going from activity to activity. And
Mhm.
it's not a popular thing for me to say, but if I think if families truly want to heal and have better nutrition and more connection to their children and more enriched lives, to push back on activities and to push back on these things and to set
Mhm.
some really, really stringent rules in the home. This is the culture of our home. The culture of our home is we sit down and we eat together in a screen-free environment. And then we
Mhm.
clean the kitchen, and then we close the kitchen, and we don't enter the kitchen again until breakfast. And that
Mhm.
is the culture of our home. We don't engage in late night eating. We don't eat in front of the television. Um, and even if this is just, okay, this goes back to um, getting away from perfectionism and all or nothing thinking. Perhaps there is one night a week we do that, and to
Mhm.
establish what is that one night in advance. It's because if we don't plan for it, then it may never happen. So the family unit, the parents say, on Tuesday night, we don't have soccer, we don't have this, we don't have screens. We are sitting down and we're eating a simple meal, and we're going to do it. And when we do it, it may feel weird. That's okay. It may feel weird because it's new, but the next week we're going to do it again. And maybe it's just one night a week.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, I
I
love
love
that
that
idea.
idea. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the fact that you use the word we, I think really, especially in today's day and age where the visual that you presented, everybody just kind of grabbing a plate and kind of going into their own corners, I think is pretty accurate, where everybody feels like they're in their own lanes, even within the same family under the same roof. They're kind of doing their own thing. So using the word we just really highlights the need for being a more cohesive kind of unit. And so I just love that the use of that word, language, I think is just so important. And so I think even changing the language within the home or the culture, like you mentioned, and allowing, children to feel like we're doing this together, it just makes all the difference. So yeah, that's great. Great
Mhm.
advice.
Yeah,
Really good feedback.
the kids will fight. I mean, everybody will, especially if it is one person who is the driver, and that may be the woman. Maybe I don't.
Mhm.
It could be that, but the driver of this change will get abused and will get pushback, and the driver of this change just says, I'm in it to win it, and
Mhm.
I'm in charge, and this is what we're going to do. And when the meal is over, you can go back to your devices or whatever, but just for this half hour. And again, I call it rags, ridiculously attainable goals. We set very, very, very small goals that we are going to achieve, and when we achieve that goal, we feel fantastic, and we may be goaded to go get more or to do it again because we achieved it, and we did, and as a result, we nobody died. Right? We did it and
Mhm.
nobody died, right? Because
Mhm.
we went into it with all this anxiety, like, what am I gonna do? I'm so used to eating with my iPad or my iPhone right in my face, or what am I gonna do if I have to sit and talk to my parents when I eat? And this may induce a little bit of anxiety, and you just kind of come in real slow. One night a week, 45 minutes, and then you can go
Mm.
back to whatever you were doing. But you have to get into action.
Mhm.
And I would
Yeah.
discourage a parent or parents from saying, we're going to do this every night this week and you're
Uh-huh.
going to like it. I would discourage setting a big, 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 crazy, uphill, steep, white knuckle goal. Let's set really, really easy, easy rags, ridiculously attainable goals.
Oh,
Oh, I
I
love that.
yes, yeah. Such a good
Yeah.
acronym. I think that's really easy for people to remember. Mhm.
hmm Yeah, and I notice how you keep saying like super boring or like old fashioned or you know but I completely agree with all this, and if it were up to me, I don't think kids should have social media until they're 18.
Okay.
That's I'm like that extreme about it. So if you're thinking boring, like, or old fashioned,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, and I'm part of that generation. So it's
Mhm.
I really do think that it's caused a big problem, and that's a good thing to notice when eating with family, or just how normal it's become to sit and look at your screen while you're eating and not even noticing what you're eating because you're so
Mhm.
engrossed in what you're looking at.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I have definitely I'm guilty of that for sure.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I have I have one last question, Wendy. For those, who might be feeling, I don't know, I guess potentially overwhelmed maybe by, like, what to eat or, like, how to eat it or how to make it even. So, like, what words of encouragement or even practical advice would you have for them today? Maybe even how to start off or yeah, just anything that you feel like would be a good like first step possibly.
Yeah. Um, if there's a particular meal in a restaurant that you just absolutely love, that you go to this particular restaurant and it's a Greek salad and you absolutely love it, or you go and you get Chipotle. All kinds of people tell me they absolutely love Chipotle. Okay, so really at the end of the day, Chipotle is beans and rice and fresh cilantro and tomatoes, and so I do encourage people to go to YouTube. It's a screen, but to go to YouTube for instruction for how to, I'm sure if you put in YouTube right now, how to make a homemade Chipotle bowl, that
Mhm.
would be outlined in great detail by someone who could hopefully show you how to buy the ingredients and create them at home. And so I encourage people, what
Ah,
is your favorite restaurant meal? And let's make that at home. Again,
ah,
this is people
such a
think
good
that, oh,
idea.
I have to go to extremes. I have to go from Cheesecake Factory to, celery sticks.
Yes.
That's a wide gulf between the indulgence and the abundance and the menu at the Cheesecake Factory and the portions of the Cheesecake Factory to, oh, I guess I gotta eat celery sticks, right? Because that's what it's been told to me, that that's what healthy people do is they sit at home and they eat celery sticks. And say, no, what if we could identify your favorite restaurant meal and try and recreate that at home? Because if it's not pleasurable and if it's not joyful, it won't stick. And you'll be right
Mhm.
back to ordering or doing Uber Eats, DoorDash, the stuff delivered right to your door, thoughtless, mindless, expensive, and disconnected from your food.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I love that. I'm gonna look at my favorite meal for sure. I've never thought about that.
Me neither.
That's such a good piece of
Wow.
advice. That was really great. That's awesome, Wendy. Yeah. Thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yes, me
You
too.
you crack me up. You're very funny. um, where can people find you if they are interested in learning more about you or just want to connect with you one on one or even find some of your content? Where can they go to find you?
I have a robust website called wendywesleynutrition.com. It has videos and recipes and articles I've written about all this kind of stuff I've been talking about. This boring stuff, this boring getting back to grandma cooking stuff I've been talking about. But the message seems to resonate, I think, because we know that really kind of the other ways have not worked. And so a lot of people are like, no, no, I think I've tried everything and now I think I'm ready to just go old school. I'm like, let's go old school. I give lectures, I do cooking demonstrations. Like I said, I work at drug and alcohol treatment centers. I also work at a food pantry here in St. Pete. So I'm, constantly got my head in the world of food and trying to figure out how to make it easier and better for people with food and nutrition.
Perfect.
That's
Awesome. Thank you
amazing.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much
Mhm.
for your time. We've really appreciated it. This has been a great conversation. And thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed listening as much as we have enjoyed our time with Wendy. And if you guys have any questions or any comments, please feel free to jot them down or feel free to just DM us and message us. We love receiving your feedback. And as we always end all of our episodes, we enjoy reflecting, and we hope that you guys do as well. And so, our thoughts for you guys is to keep reflecting.